black blood is not a real thing. Nobody has black blood. We all have the same blood. And I think what this person is trying to say is that they consider African ancestry to be tainting me, and that I can't even identify as Italian American because I'm tainted by African blood. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where we talk about American identity, becoming an American, family stories. And I want to respond to a comment that I got. This is not going to be just laughing at people's stupid comments. I've done a video or two like that. You can search for those on my channel. But I feel like this was a really important comment to respond to. This person, Joe P, said, "What makes you think you're the spokesperson for Italian people? You're not even Italian. You have a lot of black blood in you, and it shows." As soon as I got this comment, I took a screenshot and I sent it to my husband. And now we talked a little bit about this on the live stream. I don't know if you watched the video with my husband and I on the live stream. If not, I'll leave a link to it below. But we use the comment all the time now. My husband will always just tell me, "and it shows." And we have a lot of fun with it. But I want to talk about a couple of things here. This myth of racial purity that a lot of people subscribe to, I had no idea. I had no idea that was a thing that people still believed in until I started making videos and getting comments like that. There is a lot of history and context behind statements like this. Even if the person making the comment doesn't understand it, it's worth diving into together. So let's talk about this concept of racial purity and how it's been used throughout American history. And I did a video on eugenics that does a really deep dive into this. We're just going to be scratching the surface. So back in the day, in the early 19th and 20th centuries, there's this idea of racial purity. People believe that races were so distinct that mixing them would somehow dilute the purity of one group. And so you get all this pseudoscientific nonsense coming up. People actually thought you could measure someone's race by their physical features and their blood. And they weren't talking about DNA tests. But these ideas were used to justify segregation, anti-miscegenation laws where you weren't allowed to marry outside your race, and worse, right? But here's the kicker. There's no such thing as a pure race. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't ethnic groups. There's not differences among groups of people and communities. Of course there are. But humanity has been mixing since the dawn of time. And so this idea of racial purity has been so ingrained in people that it has shaped laws, social practices, and you can see, people, this is 2024, and I just got a comment about this. So let's jump in. So in the United States, in the progressive era, sorry. I am Italian. I use my hands so much. From 1900 basically to 1920, let's say, there was a major push in the United States for racial purity. And this was applauded by big time people like President Theodore Roosevelt. He supported the idea of preventing, I don't think I can say the word on here, racial killing of oneself by encouraging good citizens of the right type to reproduce. So basically he's saying, listen, don't decimate what we've got going on here. We need to make sure that we stick with each other, so we're reproducing with the right people. And the fear was that if the so-called superior races couldn't outbreed the inferior races, there would be a downfall of society. But this wasn't just limited to the United States. Racial purity has been justification for other atrocious state policies, right? Maybe the most infamous is Hitler's Third Reich. The regime's pursuit of the master Aryan race led to the horrors of things that YouTube won't let me talk about, but where you have millions of Jews, Romani people, disabled individuals, and others who were gotten rid of because they were deemed impure, racially impure. So these are extreme examples, though, of how dangerous and destructive the ideas of racial purity are. So let's go back to the United States, though. The progressive era. One key figure in this movement was someone named Charles Davenport. He was the head of the Eugenics Records Office, and he and others believed that if they could control reproduction of people, society could eliminate undesirable traits and improve the human race. So this led to the eugenics movement, which advocated for sterilization laws to prevent those who were deemed unfit from reproducing. So from between 1907 to 1937, over 30 states passed sterilization laws for human beings, leading to the forced sterilization of tens and thousands of people. Now, remember, this is going back to this idea of the myth of racial purity. Now, these ideas were supported by, of course, pseudoscientific research. There were scientists like Samuel George Morton and Josiah Nott. These men conducted studies where they claimed to prove the superiority of white Europeans over other races. Morton, for example, collected and measured skulls from around the world and concluded that white people had larger brains and were therefore more intelligent. These studies obviously were deeply flawed, but they were used to justify these policies and these racist beliefs. We have to talk about social Darwinism. The application of Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection in human societies led to social Darwinists believing that just like animals compete for survival, so do the human races. So they argued that white Europeans were more evolved and superior to other races, and this was used to justify things like colonialism and exploitation of labor. In the United States in particular, these beliefs manifested in various ways. For example, the Immigration Act of 1924, we talk about that a lot on this channel. It severely restricted immigration from countries outside of Western Europe. This was based on the belief that immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe, as well as Asia, were racially inferior and they would dilute the American gene pool. So when I see comments like, you're not Italian, well, first of all, I'm Italian American, and I'm definitely Italian American. You have black blood and it shows. This isn't just like a random or isolated statement of just like some loony, like, I don't know, maybe he is, but I know this is something that people still subscribe to. It's this modern echo of these really ridiculous beliefs about racial purity and hierarchy. But we need to talk about black blood. I say this all the time. I get comments a lot where people are like, why are you so obsessed with the past? Why are you digging this stuff up? You're making America worse. And it's like, am I really? I don't think conversations are ever going to be the problem. Now, you may not agree with me. I may not agree with you, but I never think that sitting down and having a open, honest, and controlled emotional situation,
instant catastrophic meltdown,
at that table talking, I don't think that's ever going to be a problem. And so I think it's really important for me to highlight these comments to show like, this is still something that's going on. I know I'm not the only person that hears stuff like this, but I want to be transparent. It's like, look, these are kinds of comments I get sometimes, not all the time. Well, I do get these. And so here we have this idea of, well, I can't really be Italian American because I don't look the right way, or maybe this person knows about me having African heritage. I'm not totally sure what they were getting at with this, but either way, it just really underscores how important it is to keep having these conversations. Like when I see comments like this, I'm like, okay, we have to keep talking about this. We just do. And I don't necessarily have the solution. I don't know. I think the solution is a conversation. I do. I know people work things out different ways. Some people need to sit quietly in their head and just think about everything and they get an answer. Not me. I need to have a cup of coffee and sit with you on the couch and hash it all out. The other side to this is that black blood is not a real thing. Nobody has black blood. We all have the same blood. And I think what this person is trying to say is that they consider African ancestry to be tainting me, and that I can't even identify as Italian American because I'm tainted by African blood. And so, if you're one of those people that believe we need to stop talking about this and this is all in the past, let me tell you, there were a lot of those comments. A couple days ago, I did a video reacting to 33 photos from segregation here in the United States. A lot of them were ones I had never seen before. Even as a historian, as a history teacher, I hadn't seen these. And there were plenty of people saying, like, why are you digging this stuff up? Stop digging this stuff up. You're making it worse. I'm like, well, I don't know, because right underneath your comment, I got told that I can't identify as Italian American because I'm tainted with black blood. So that's the reality. That's the reality. And, if you've been on my channel, I'm not a negative person. No hard feelings from this guy. I don't care about that. But what it tells me is that this isn't history. This is happening right now. This is still happening. And it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, especially as more people are kind of crossing those racial lines and marrying other mixed people. Like, this isn't going anywhere. And boy, there's so many directions that I feel like we could go with this. But I think what jumps out to me the most is this idea of the taint of African American blood. And I've had people tell me that I shouldn't talk about it. I'm like, well, it's a little late to unring that bell. Who's pure? Who's pure anything? That's why when people ask me what I am out in the public and stuff, I usually just say I'm a New Yorker. I feel like that's the thing I identify with being the most, even though I've been in Nashville for a really long time. I'm a New Yorker and I'm an American. And I love all my ancestry. I love my heritage. I'm so thankful for how diverse it is. But yeah, so let me know what you think about this myth of racial purity in either direction, that anyone is purely anything. I think it's a symptom of a deeper problem, but I believe that the more we talk about it, the more we shine a light on things like that. Scripture says that evil deeds hide in the dark and they don't want the light shined on them. And so when I feel like we're having these conversations, we're shining a light in these really dark corners of our country, of people's psyches even. And I think it's incredible work to do. So thank you so much for being a part of that with me. And I wanted to thank everyone who is a Patreon and a channel member. You guys are amazing. Like, seriously, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you'd like to join that group of incredible people, because they really are, these are incredible people. They're financially supporting what I'm doing. And I can't even tell you, first of all, how much it means to me to know that there are other people who care about this stuff like I did. Like, I just had no idea until I turned on the camera a year and a half ago. So if you'd like to join and kind of join in on that side of the conversation, I'd love to have you. Otherwise, I'm going to leave a link to the eugenics video that really does a pretty crazy deep dive into what our country has done. Let me know what you think about this myth of racial purity. We'll talk soon.